I'm Talia.
Hi, I'm Matthew, and we are the Critics.
Welcome to our first top 10 video. We've hopefully going to do more of these in the future, so look out for that. We love movies and we've watched so many, so here goes our first top 10 ranking.
Yeah.
We've chosen Quentin Tarantino's movies for our first top 10. Both of us are quite hardcore fans of Tarantino. I think he's quite a modern film genius. He's shaped pop culture tremendously in the last 20 years, and we think his films deserve a discussion.
Yeah. I knew about Tarantino before I watched it. I watched it because people couldn't keep quiet about this thing called Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill, and from the moment I watched, I've adored every single movie that I've watched of his. It's been really tough making this list.
Yeah, Matt.
Talia's beaten me up a little bit.
Matt almost broke down.
Yeah.
In tears. Okay, let's get into it. Number 10.
Nothing. Tarantino, get your act together and get us another movie.
Okay, so our top 10 consists of 9 films.
Yes.
We're splitting Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 into 2 separate films. He says he's made 8, but to us it's 9.
Yeah, we're trying to get to 10. He's not helping us.
He's not helping.
Number 9, Death Proof.
This is Tarantino's worst film in his own opinion.
Yeah.
And it is ours as well. As a female, I felt quite violated watching this movie. Although the stunts were cool. Enjoyability level medium, but film-wise and length-wise bad.
I really liked the first half. I think it slowed down too much, even for a Tarantino in the second half. And the car chase at the end is just really long, unnecessary, very un-Tarantino-y. Although I appreciate what he was trying to do with the genre, but not his best. But not bad.
Not bad, yeah. None of his films are bad.
That's true.
Number 8, Kill Bill Volume 2.
I'm a fan of both Kill Bills, but I think if you're going to start comparing it to the rest, this is a little bit too slow. It is a bit of a shock from what you were been expecting with Kill Bill Volume 1. I think it relies too heavily on conversations between people and can become quite a lot too slow. While still a good movie, I don't think one of his best.
I think I enjoyed it from the perspective of getting closure on the bride's journey of revenge. But the first one for me just stands alone as, iconic. The second one, although I enjoyed it and I appreciate the different villains that she pursued in the second one as well, it just didn't have that same ring of awesome as the first one for me.
Number 7, Jackie Brown.
So Jackie Brown was probably the first Tarantino I watched when I wasn't supposed to be watching Tarantino. I love Pam Grier because she's such an icon in terms of blaxploitation films.
Yeah.
And Samuel L. is always great. But I just felt like this film is very bogged down into, I don't know, it feels quite serious compared to his other films. And yeah, it just doesn't go into the same category of cool as I put the other movies in.
Yeah, for me it's also just too slow, but not slow by being held up by conversations. It's held up by very long shots during which not a lot happens, and just a lot of walking places to places. And also just lots of walking, and also just has the most predictable of all the plots. I feel you kind of know where it's going, and you kind of just want it to get there, and it doesn't help you getting there any earlier.
Number 6, Django Unchained.
Now we start getting into the really, really tough decisions.
Difficult.
All of the rest from here are all amazing, and I would watch all of them any day. But Django makes the bottom of this list because I think it's just, for me, it's too much fan service. Or for me, it's just too much everyday crowd service. There's, it's very cool, but it doesn't really have any weight to it, which is problematic. There's violence, but it's kind of appropriate for what's happening, almost violence. Even the end, doesn't compare to like Kill Bill Volume 1, which we're getting to later. And so it was still an amazing film, one of his highest grossing films. Not Tarantino-y enough for me.
I thoroughly enjoyed Django, specifically Leonardo's character Calvin Candy. I thought,
Amazing job.
If I saw a film about him alone, I'd just love it. But I agree with you on the point that Django was too mainstream. It was just big budget. It had A-list actors, And yeah, it did kind of pander to fan service, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
It was quite mainstream, and I also find it annoying that people suddenly became Tarantino hardcore fans after watching Django.
He's ours, you can't have him.
Yeah. So I agree with you on that one. Yeah, Django, mainstream, but
Yeah.
Leo did well.
Number 5, Inglourious Bastards.
Matt and I disagreed on this one. I thought it was a bit too long. I felt the length of the film, which I don't usually do in Tarantino movies. But once again, big budget. Also felt a bit mainstream for me, from my side. And both of us are not fans, but enthusiasts of World War II.
Yeah.
So it was...
Yeah, fans is the wrong word.
Fans is the wrong word. It was in our interest.
Yeah.
And he really switched that story around so well, but not one of my favorites personally.
So I think Inglourious Basterds had some amazing scenes, which is why we put it ahead of Django. I mean, the interrogation scene in the beginning is amazing. The bath scene is unbelievable. And who doesn't want to see Hitler get killed? But again, what you said earlier is that I think it's too mainstreamy for me. It's not quite Tarantino, and I think, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, I think Brad Pitt is a bit of a pro and con in this. Obviously,
he's got that 90s heartthrob vibe.
And obviously he's an amazing actor, but it kind of makes you feel like...
It's diluted a bit.
Yeah, it kind of makes you realize that this is a film, almost, which is problematic.
Yeah.
As much as there's big names in other films, for some reason Brad Pitt kind of sticks out as a bit of as a lot more noticeable.
Number 4, Reservoir Dogs.
The original, which I didn't see for quite some time after I started watching.
Me too.
Amazing. I mean, there's not a lot of scenery, there's not a huge array of characters, but all of them incredibly interesting. Some really interesting conversations and discussions that happen there that you can just watch over and over again. And then for me, and this is, I mean, Tarantino is a large part of what he is about violence, which is why some people hate him and why some people love him. And it still to this day has the most difficult to watch scene of all of them.
Yeah.
That scene where the cop's being interrogated and he's getting his ear cut off and he's then getting doused in gasoline. I still find that incredibly difficult to watch, and not many people can make those scenes in and amongst a movie that's not purely about that, that is about revenge and treachery, and who doesn't like a good revenge? Well, a good traitor amongst them that's plot.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Brilliant cast, brilliant script writing. The whole concept of it was like so well contained.
Yeah.
The plot was tight, the cast was tight, it was just like really a well-contained film. This is him, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely, very much so him.
Unrefined.
Yeah. And it's rated as one of the best independent films ever. So I thought, you know, it's so iconic to watch it because it just shows, you know, he was a struggling director, it's low budget, and it made all of those actors popular.
Yeah.
It's definitely a cult classic, and pop culture influenced, you know, it's influenced pop culture since then. And the concept of Mr. Blue and Mr. Brown.
So good.
So good. Absolutely clever.
Number 3, Kill Bill Volume 1.
The one word I used to describe this film, cool.
Yeah.
It is just so cool. I think it sort of defined our generation in a way, because it came out in 2004, I think.
You'll know better than me, yeah.
And we were teenagers, and you just sort of, wow, just watch it and you're in awe. The lines, it's those lines that you just hang on and wait for.
Yeah.
The scenes were epic. At the scene with when the bride is standing below and Oren Ishii is above, brilliant.
But even just that opening scene just gets you. Now, when that gunshot goes off, that opening scene is a movie in and of itself. It's just so perfect.
Perfect. Everything about that film, I don't know.
It shocks you, and then everything else just shocks you more and more as it goes on.
And if you're a Bruce Lee fan, which is, you know, he was influenced by those type of films, it's amazing how he's translated it into this weird anime type of storyline.
The anime was amazing.
Yeah, it was probably the first film to do that, mix the anime because of the violence. It was really brilliant.
Yeah, it's, you know, what can you say? It's got all of the action, all of the violence. The only thing I think it misses out on is some of the like conversations that are also just so enjoyable.
The
that go
violence
along with
really
it.
takes precedence in this.
Yeah,
movie.
and which is why it doesn't go higher. But on that violence level, it's so amazing. It's excessive, but in a well done way,
Stylish way.
in a
yeah.
very stylish way. You know, it's the main characters are never excessive, but all the extra people are very excessive when it comes to the blood. And the bride is just an amazing character. Uma Thurman at her best, I think. And yeah, you just imagine that everyone had an amazing time making that movie, and I think everyone who watched it who doesn't get freaked out I had an amazing time watching
It was great. It was really great.
Very controversial, obviously, but
At the time.
yeah, but an amazing film nonetheless.
Number 2, Pulp Fiction.
This is a movie that started me on my Tarantino love affair. It's very difficult for me to not put this as number 1. Having said that, though, I think it's obviously amazing. It's got all the conversations that we love. It's influenced pop culture so heavily. It draws from the culture of its time so well. It's amazing in how he can create characters that you love, like Vincent Vega, who then, quite some time later, because it's a Tarantino, gets killed.
In a brutal way.
In a brutal way, and you kind of are okay with it. Like, this character that you've bonded with, you're okay because you're now invested in another character, and that's necessary for his story to go forward. And some of just the most iconic lines, from quoting, it's Ezekiel, right, that Samuel quotes, to badass motherfucker. All of that is just oozing with cool, oozing with what really for me makes a Tarantino movie. And I think one of his best cameos.
Yeah. I also love Pulp Fiction. I think firstly it was a good comeback for John Travolta.
Yeah.
It made us think of him as a serious actor again. And also very controversial in its time. When the early 90s was full of, family-friendly movies. He sort of just popped up and made this crazy, mixed-up film that, if you watch it, taking it what it is, it doesn't really make sense. But if you know Tarantino and what he's about, it's an iconic film. Uma Thurman, once again, amazing in that film. And Samuel L., I also feel like something great, came out of that movie, because the way he delivers, I'm sure it was pages and pages of dialogue that he had to read, but he just draws you in.
So good.
Their team.
I want to watch it now.
Their teamwork was brilliant.
Yeah.
And he manages to show you like really disturbing things, but still make it amusing, like the bondage and all that happens in that movie. It's really disturbing, but you still are drawn in and you want to see what's going to happen. Just showed him as an amazing storyteller. Okay.
Number 1, Hateful Eight.
The number 1 film for us. For both of us, I think we can agree that this is Tarantino at his best.
Yeah.
He's used all of his storytelling devices that he's built up over the years, and his actors that he's got relationships with, and just created the perfect film.
Yeah.
This film is faultless, literally. I mean, the more you watch it, the more you love it. It's perfect. It's well contained like Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
It's cool like Kill Bill. It's got the dialogue of like, which of the other, Inglourious Bastards. It's got violence similar to Django.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and it's got
the badass moments from Pulp Fiction.
From Pulp Fiction, yeah. And it's got the sort of weird alliances that form.
Yeah.
So it's just the perfect Tarantino film. I don't know, it's him at his best. If he can top this one, it's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing.
It's a faultless film. The pacing, the script writing, the set design, cinematography, music, acting, everything. It was brilliant.
I can't say much more, except to say, for me it was tough between this one and Pulp Fiction, and I think if you're still putting Pulp Fiction above Hateful Eight, you're putting it above just because of its iconic status.
Yeah.
Not as a film. I think they're incredibly close, but I don't think you can. I think you're going to have a tough time denying that Tarantino's got so much better at his game since Pulp Fiction, and that Hateful Eight is that film. Yeah, the gross profits or the grossings don't match up to some of his other films. But I
But
just
Reservoir Dogs is on the lower.
Reservoir
and
Dogs is
that's
right at the
amazing.
bottom of that listing. So, but because it's not for just everybody. I think it's a really for the Tarantino fans, Tarantino movie. You're not watching this list because you hate Tarantino. I think as a Tarantino fan, this is just. I mean, we walked out of that movie with our minds blown.
It was amazing.
It was such interesting characters, such interesting conversations.
Brilliantly done.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better top one.
Definitely. I'm Talia,
I'm Matthew.
and this has been the Critics Top 10 of Quentin Tarantino.